So, let's start. So U.S. markets closed highest. We taking it to the next level. This is entrepreneurship podcast, taking it to the next level. I got my boy IQ Heavy and our trading group putting it together, taking it to the next level. This is the opportunity for us to focus and for us to have that financial conversations that are much needed in our community. And so today we're going to be reading the closing briefs. And so the U.S. markets are closing higher, extending the S&P 500, advancing to an eighth straight weekly gain. And so this is one of those features, really from my bro IQ Heavy's Discord group. So this is one information that is a key. They got the AI pieces running, giving information on a daily base at a continual clip. So you got to make sure that you're staying informed on the news as well as also on the daily day-to-day happenings. And so with that, right, it's longest weekly winning streak since 2023. Amid improving risk appetite, tied to hopes that negotiations could turn the current ceasefire into a more durable peace framework. The session was volatile, but dip buying held into the close, even ahead of a long weekend. The U.S. signaling investors single investors were reluctant to reduce exposures and risk missing a potential peace dividend rally. Rates were the main counterweight to equities. Treasury yields pushed higher at the front end, with the 2-year yield rising 4% basis point to 4.12%, the highest since February 2025. After Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Wallace argued the Federal Reserve should communicate that the next move could be a hike readily as a cut, while Waller emphasized patience until the war's inflation impact is clear. His tone reinforced a hawkish shift, and markets moved towards pricing a higher probability of a hike later this year. President Donald Trump said he wants Kevin Warsh to lead the Federal Reserve independently. Warsh was sworn in Friday. A point market will watch Point markets will watch closely for implications around perceived policy autonomy. Geopolitics remains central to cross asset pricing. Iran is considered the latest U.S. proposal, with Pakistan's army chief seen as a key interlocutor arriving in Tehran. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio cited slight progress, while Iranian officials played down expectations of an imminent deal. Oil finished only modestly changing despite the headlines suggesting some easing in near-term risk premia, even as uncertainty persists. So at the close, we got the S&P 500, 0.4%, Nasdaq 100, 0.4%, Dow Industrial Jones 0.6%, Russell Jones 0.9%, MCCI World Index 0.5%, the Bloomberg's Magnificent Seven Total Return Index negative 0.1%, indicating leadership brought in beyond mega cap growth. Rates, U.S. 2-year 4.12%, plus 4 BPS. U.S. 10-year 4.5%, 4.56%, U.S. 30-year 5.06%, Germany 10-year 3.04%, UK 10-year 4.90%, FX Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index 0.1%, Euro 1.1605, negative 0.1%, British Pound 1.3441 flat, Japanese Yen 159.17 per dollar, negative 0.1%, commodities, West Texas Intermediate, shout out to Texas, we're in Houston with it, $96.46, 0.1%, spot gold 4,506.28 cents, negative 0.8%, and crypto 75,840.63, negative 2.3%, and Ether 2,069.52%, at negative 3.1%. Some more quick news that we want to flow out with is Anthropic PBC is set to a closing founding round that may value the company above 900 billion, potentially as soon as next week, according to people familiar with the matter. Workday Incorporated reported better than expected first quarter results, easing concerns about artificial intelligence driven disruptions. Zoom Communications Inc. guided to a stronger than expected sales growth and said customers are paying for its expanded Office product suite. Lenovo Group is reported strong growth in artificial intelligence related earnings, offsetting pressures from rising component pricing. And so we'll finish up the briefs because we have a couple more to flow off. But just starting there, brother man, based on some of the news that the AI news, AI bots has brought us. What are your thoughts on it? And again, this is one of our key analysts, one of our key investors that helps take us to the next level. What are your thoughts on some of the news that we just read off?
But that was quite a bit, quite a bit. Get everybody caught up. How you doing? IQ Heavy in the building. good afternoon, morning, wherever you might be. Sometimes other people in different continents, time zones and everything like that. Happy Friday. Also, happy Memorial Day weekend. I believe that's, we're going into the weekend. But that was what we were hearing. What you were hearing is the market is up, equities are up, the trend is in. Trend is your friend, so you stick with the trend. We are in a war, but sometimes a war doesn't necessarily mean negativity for the market. A war can be positive for the market because markets are future thinking, they're forward thinking. So they're pricing everything in based in real time. So I guess I'll get started with I'll give a quick breakdown of the economics for what we were doing on equities, macros, crypto, and things like that. So the Dow just set a record high going into the weekend close. The Dow, the Dow Jones, we also have geopoliticals with Iran, having both signal progress and peace talks for a ceasefire. Trump's telling them that they got to take a deal or it's going to be more war. So we have two countries that are talking for peace. Oil settled at about 96.35, down about 1.9%. So oil is down. Gas prices have not been down yet, but we will get the gas prices to start to reflect based off of the oil coming down. So that means the economy is actually starting to stimulate. So we will be going back up. Prices will start to go down. Now, getting into the volatility for next week for plays that we'd be able to get into. So the Fed is a wild card. This is I don't know if we want to say it's Trump's friend, but let's just say he has a little bit of pull or a lot more influence with this guy than he did the previous administration with Jerome Powell at the Fed. So if he wants a rate cut, he can get a rate cut. If he wants a rate hike, he can get a rate hike. So in this situation, I'm sure he's going for the rate cut, which is bullish for his crypto. Remember, Trump is in crypto. This is probably the first ever crypto president. So getting into the crypto space, which is also the stock market, because a lot of times people think you have to buy crypto to get into the markets. No, you can buy stocks because some stocks are correlated to the crypto. So even for example, like a Tesla, for example, maybe not maybe wouldn't have been your first thought, but they hold a lot of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. There's other companies like Palantir. There's other companies like Amazon. I believe even Walmart's gotten into it now. So there's other companies you can purchase that will be able to make dividends and money on the back end of crypto going up because they fare to benefit from it. Now, what we have with Anthropic, to touch on that, that was a crazy $900 billion valuation. But what we really got going on is it's a battle. So we have Anthropic, OpenAI, and SpaceX. There's three IPOs that are coming to the market this year, but the market is already at an all-time high. So we're fully extended. We're fully exhausted. We don't even have any more ammo in the tank. In order to get these companies to IPO, it's either going to suck the money out of the market or more money needs to be introduced to the market. Now, I can tell you right now, these three IPOs alone are going to eclipse all of the IPOs combined that came out in 2025, and we had quite a bit of them. So what is going to happen is a liquidity pool. Everybody can't get all the money. There's only three of them. So first come, first serve basis. So if SpaceX IPOs first, which I'm sure they will, whoever goes next is going to get the lion's share of it. And whoever goes last is going to get the less. So what I would advise, because I can do that now, what I would advise is in a 30-day span, you wouldn't even touch any of these IPOs. You give it 30 days to see where it's at. If it goes high, comes back down to create a floor, you now understand where the floor is. If it goes high and has a floor but never falls, that means the market is pricing in the rate cut because more money will come to the market to take that IPO to the moon. Now, if we get to a point where we go up and we fall down and it gets to a floor but it goes lower, the market is signaling we're going to get a rate hike, and that is where the hawkish comes in. Because right now, we want the Fed to talk dovish. Hawkish means they might do a rate cut, which in the intermediate time, it would be bad for the markets. But if you're an institutional investor, this will be great for the markets because you get a pullback on a massive scale. The last time we had something happen this big with these type of colossal size companies, we had an 80% drawdown on the NASDAQ. 80%. People lost their whole entire life savings. But some people were positioned to take advantage of what I'm telling you now, that the market is set to make a really big outsized move in the next couple of weeks. So it's either going from 739 to 800 and higher, or we're going back to 481, where we originally came from before all of this positivity went into the market. And we had something similar happen to this in 2002 called a dot-com bubble. So I don't want to say it's the same thing, but you can pay attention to correlate that things are similar. And if we don't get over the hump, we're going to dump. And in that same moment, they tell you in a bull market, people get rich. In a bear market, people become wealthy. That's the difference. Because once that trend breaks, no one will understand for months that it broke, and they'll keep anticipating it to go back up. So they're trying to get to a higher high when it'll keep making lower lows. And we'll have to come back to a point where we started our move from, which will be resetting the market, which makes sense when we have a brand new Fed chair. We have a brand new president. We have a brand new set of rules and laws and bylaws with the AI. We have a brand new digital system that we're governing to bring money into the flow. I don't know if anybody studies economics or macros, but if you look at the economy, we used to be 60-40, cash to digital. If you look at the economy right now, I mean, I could be off maybe 1 or 2%, but I would say we're at about 10 to maybe 12% liquid. So to give that a better perspective, 90% of the whole entire market is digital. Only 10% of it would be physical cash. That's like 50, $60 trillion. Don't get me wrong, 60 trillion is a lot of money. But in the grand scheme of the total market, we have over 400 trillion in market assets and value. So if only 60 of it is accessible by cash and everything else is digital, did that go over your head for a second? If everything's digital and only 10% of it is cash, when something's real, it's tangible. So only 10% of the world right now is real. The rest of it is non-tangible. So at this point, you have to ask yourself a question. And this is to all the retail people that don't want to own crypto, don't want to buy stocks. What do you think will happen in the next 10 to 20 years for you and your children? Do you think we'll reverse this course and now we'll go 90% the opposite way and get back to everything being real value? When I just explained that the stock market is looking to tokenize. That means they want to digitalize every stock market company. They want it to be digital. That'll be the other leg being kicked out on the 10% that's there to knock it down to 5%. So the only economy that you can live in where you can actually be profitable and make it out of the inflation chase is to be digital. You have to buy assets. It's not a get rich anymore. It's just to maintain, to get by. Because if you don't own anything digital, then you won't have anything that goes up in value. And then you'll have to work for the money that you're working for while the assets around you go up in value and the cost of products go up in value. So that milk will cost $2 more. You won't get $2 more in your paycheck, but you will have to go get a second job to try to get that over the hump. But if you take right now and you start investing, because there's no time better than right now. I know some people say yesterday, we can't go backwards. Right now, you start investing, I can guarantee you let me not say the word guaranteed, but let's just say in the next 7 years, if you're investing, you will be okay. If you're not investing, I can guarantee you will not be okay. That's where the guarantee can come in. You will not be okay if you are not investing in stocks, cryptos, equities, bonds, mutual funds. Even a CD, a savings account, is not a form of investing. No one saves money because it loses its value. You can't come back to the $50 that you put under your bed 10 years ago and go get the same things you got with it 10 years ago. You probably need another $300 to get the same thing. We go to the store, we shop, I'm sure some of us, were younger. We know we got 25-cent bag of chips. That chips became 50-cent chips. Then it became 75 chips. Then it became $1. And you're going, well, they're not putting any more chips in the bag, I'm noticing, because you start seeing that the bag's full of air. Now I got less chips, but I'm paying more money for the same chips. I'm getting less full. Then I gotta go out and make more money to produce to be able to get full. Then the people like it's not a Ponzi scheme because there is a way out. A Ponzi scheme doesn't leave you a way out. The crypto market gives you guys or us all a way out. So I'll even go a little further and add in some of the crypto right now. So I'll speak on crypto. We got Bitcoin at 77K. What I tell everybody is above 77. Well, actually say, but above 78, we're bullish. Below 78 or below 77, we're bearish. The asset class is going to go up over time, but it is based off regulations. We live in an economy where they want to digitalize everything. They can't do it overnight because that will cause a Venezuela situation where your money will go to shit overnight. You won't have, it'll be no value, and you'll have to figure out how do you get value. So you don't want to wake up the next morning, one of these days, and your bank account is telling you the money is not, we're having issues with you being able to take money out. Or you try to go somewhere and this may be the issue. We don't accept that. Sometimes people think losing the money is based off of losing the money. But no, if I don't accept cash, I only accept legal tender through cryptocurrency, or I only accept legal tender through a credit card or a debit card. In those situations, that's digital assets. If you don't have that, and you can't make the purchase anymore. So now you've been excluded from being able to make regular purchases because you don't have any purchasing power. So that's what we want to focus on, making sure we keep purchasing power. So when we hear things like the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, we need to go in and read these things so you get more understanding on where the economy is going. Because these politicians aren't going to tell you anything. They're just going to tell you everything. They're going to tell you what to do, but they're not going to tell you why they're doing it. They're going to tell you they made a bill, but they're not going to tell you what's in it. You actually have to do the due diligence to go inside and read these things to go, oh, wait, so you guys are tokenizing everything. And this Genius Act is allowing people to still be able to get a dividend or basically a yield off of the crypto that they hold. And the banks wanted to do it where they keep all of the yield and they don't give anything to the people. That's what they wanted to do. But reading the act, when we get that passed, we'll have the ability to make money off of our money. Now there is no ability to go broke. When money's making money, you can't go broke. When you're making money, you can. You literally could break yourself. You could hurt your back, you could hurt your arm. The job can just go away. You might not be, young enough for the job, or you might be too old for the job. So you could actually lose your ability to be included in the workforce. So in these situations, we just got to make sure that the inclusion part is jumping into crypto, jumping into equities, jumping into Bitcoin, making sure we're understanding the Clarity Act. And I'll give a gem while we're here. ONDO, ONDO. So many people look at the Clarity Act for what it can do for all crypto. BlackRock created the Clarity Act for what it can do for their one crypto. The Clarity Act was created for ONDO. ONDO is at like 34, 40 cents right now. ONDO will go 10x from where it currently is. ONDO might go to $100 because all of the world is going to be tokenized on these assets. So everybody's chasing Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Sui, Cardano, XRP. Great assets. Those are all great assets, and you should own those assets. But if you want to own the future, just own ONDO. BlackRock owns it, and they are the future. So you don't have to chase. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just now have to pay attention to what they're doing so we don't get left behind this time.
Talking that truth, man. I was gonna ask for the like, the summarized version there where you really broke down what you want the people to take away, but you said it right there. That you want them to get into the investing, get into crypto, get into the different digital assets, make sure that they're owning. And so let's take it because we're always speaking to the beginners, people who may not necessarily know or where to start with trading. How would you, so they definitely get investing, because they understand that they got to invest in themselves, they got to invest in something. Um, let's
Well,
talk to the
you might be speaking
psychology
to,
of it.
yeah, the mindset. That's the mindset shift. So we have a Discord that you could come over to, and we can help you out with the mindset shift. Sometimes it's not about what you know, it's who you know. You got access to me, you got access to my man's right here. Having a conversation with us brings you fully in to the diaspora of what we're doing. Because we're not doing something to affect our pocket. We're doing something to affect everyone's pocket. We want to create change. I'm looking to help the youth from 16 to 24 and anybody older. Sometimes the older people, they don't have issues with doing it. They have issues with trust. They need to understand it. So I'm trying to bridge the gap between both correlated people because at the end of the day, it's just information and knowledge is power. But without applied knowledge is nothing. So in these situations, I have proven methods, proven strategies, proven setups where you can see how it works, where you can see how we do it, where you can see us actually winning. Because a lot of people talk and they just want to take your money. We actually want to empower you so you take your money to make more money because that's how it is. Each one teach one, and you'll be able to reach your children. I feel like this conversation we have now, you'll be able to have it with your 10 or your 12 or your 11-year-old child. Even if you want to go even younger than that, your 6 or your 7-year-old. Because what I know about the markets is in 7 years, you can change your whole life. And that might sound like a lot, but I know people who work to retire. So let's think of it that way. What if you could retire in 7 years and you never even have to start the work field because you understand something that they don't? Come on over to the Discord. We'll be able to help you out there. We'll drop the link. I mean, so that way everybody can come over and see what we're doing. We do have some free information as well as some free courses. But you know how they say nothing is free? It's free to you. It wasn't free to me. It took me time, energy, value, and money to acquire these things. It's just I'm giving back to the people because that's how you bring them in. So when I give back, it's so you can see the value. And once you see the value, then we build. Only then do we build because you see the value versus trying to extract something from you to take your value.
Mm. That's big, bro. That's big, bro. I love what you said there, 'cause, that's what we're all about, making sure that we bring the family involved, bringing the family when we are teaching, and making sure that this becomes a community process. But what do you say out there to
Correct.
that beginner trader who wants to bring their family involved, wants to have their children begin this process with them? How would you start them up, if you don't mind me asking?
On a Sunday. So, we go to church on Sundays. It's the same concept in the home. You don't always got to go to a monastery or go to a facility. Church is in you. It's in your temple. So at the end of the day, you guys could sit, you could set a plan. Hey, family, we're going to sit together on Sunday and we're going to talk. What are we going to talk about? Well, the topic is financial literacy. We want to build wealth in our family. We want to build wealth in our community. How do we do so? Well, this is the platform. We can get on Robinhood. We can get on Webull. We can get on Coinbase. We can get on Charles Schwab. Oh, wait, I can get one person on there, and if I add you to it as a link, they'll give me a crypto for adding you. Oh, so we can use affiliate marketing to our advantage. We might have 5 people in our family unit. So you download it and you send it to your wife. She downloads it. Now she gets something and you get something. Then you send it to your child. Now they get something and you get something. So you're already building right there. Other apps like Fold allows you to, as you purchase and buy things that we do already in our regular economy, you'll get back Bitcoin, you'll get back Ethereum, you'll get back Solana. You can receive crypto for you making purchases on your regular everyday lifestyle. So it's just the information we're coming in to know where to look. And this is what we can do for you at our Discord. So I'll give it to you free now, but at the end of the day, information is the information. So when you want to know the hows and the meat and the potatoes of it, right now you would go on Fold. You can go to fold.com. You'll be able to apply. You'll get your little setup and you can buy crypto on there and hold crypto on there. And you can also redeem for gift cards, travel. It's an array of the same concepts you have for PayPal. You have it there. It's just a lot of people may not be aware of Fold because they're kind of new. They've been out maybe for about the last 2 years, but they also have a stock ticker called FLD Acquisitions. They're maybe sitting around $1. They won't be sitting at $1 for forever. They started at about $14. So I would say look into Fold, use the app, and purchase the stock. Double entendre. And for the family, you now do it together. So every week, we allocate a certain amount of money that we're going to purchase these stocks with. Doesn't matter if it's up, down, or bad. We're purchasing because we have discipline. We're setting up. This is what we're going to do every Sunday and every Monday going into the market. And if you need, you can come into the Discord and we'll show you the exact days we buy. Because believe it or not, there's specific days to buy on the stock market. We can predict the day that we know it's all going to be down and tell you that this is the day we buy. We can predict the day that we know it's going to go up the day it's down prior to the up day. So we can have you load up on a down day to offload on an up day. If you want to make some funds to take some funds out, because we don't just preach it from a teaching perspective where you just have wealth. We want you to use your wealth. So we teach you how to not just invest in markets and build up assets and then, liquidate your assets to get money from them. No, we're teaching you how to take those assets to the bank and make them give you a loan on those assets so you never lose any value on your assets.
That's big, bro. That's big, bro. Definitely dropping gems right there. Make sure that you are taking notes as my bro is speaking. And so now I want us to kind of get into the infrastructure, the World War III infrastructure. So, give the people again a summary of really the global war, the players, different players in the game right now, and ultimately where the stock market, as well as also the futures market, as well as also really all markets, our financial markets are heading, and where people should position themselves, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, no problem. One moment. For
We got a question. I see somebody ask, "What do you think about Putin?"
in regards to him being a good guy or a bad guy, or I
As it
think
relates to
Putin in his
finance markets
situation.
and
Yeah. So
investing.
for Putin, it's more of a he'll reap the benefits of the oil situation. So in the Northeast, if we do what I think we're doing, where we're fighting Iran and we lose the war intentionally, it'll close the Strait of Hamas, and then all of the oil will have to go through Venezuela and Canada. But that also affects um, Russia. So you would have to purchase oil and things like that from Russia's side as well. So it would actually empower Russia and it would empower America. And as far as Putin, I think Donald Trump and Putin are friends undertone, so they don't actually have ill will toward each other. They actually work together. It's just it's a weird dynamic. If you notice Trump with a lot of these politicians, he's the only politician that I can say with impunity that he's known them prior to his tenure as a president, and they seem to like him prior to his tenure as a president. So he has a rapport with a couple of people. I've noticed he's buddy buddy with Xi Jinping. I've noticed he's cool with Putin. I've noticed he can call on the other people. And if you go back to his tenure from the 80s and the 90s, he's always been around these people. He just maybe wasn't in the forefront of it. So what I'm gathering is these people kind of know him and his family, and they're not willing to basically cross him. So they're kind of all backing down from him. Like I guess with rich people, they have I'm rambling a little bit. I'm trying to get back to my thought of like I guess their election. So to go with Putin, I'll go with the election. With Kamala Harris and the Democrats, we have order and peace. Oh, not peace, but order. You want structure. You want things to move a certain way. You want a certain flow. I would almost even say accountability to some extent, even though it's not responsibility, it's accountability. With rich people, they have a different mindset. So they're more like the oligarchs. They are like, they're not creating anything. They don't create anything. They don't create a service. They set up a toll booth, if you will. They figure out a way to cover a loophole or set up a toll booth so you got to pay them. So with me seeing what Trump was doing with not allowing the other countries to move a certain way, and then he would then structure it so that way they have to move through here. He's doing it the same way that the oligarchs do it, where they're just setting up toll booths. So with World War III, I'm noticing right now, there won't be an actual ground war, in my opinion, because what he's doing is setting up the stage where we will take the loss to win on the back end. So even if we don't lose any Americans, we will still win on the economic side because all of the money and resources to start to flow toward our side, and we will become rich again. And that debt that we have at 36 trillion or 40 trillion or wherever we are right now will just go away. And when he says the quote, like, well, maybe we just purchase a little Bitcoin. What people don't understand is that is how you offset the debt. They can take the monetary cash, the 10% left in the digital system, and they can put it into the actual digital system, and then they just reset the whole system because now there's no debt. And the digital system absorbed all of that money, and now they can pull all the money back out of the digital system. It's like I just robbed Peter to pay Paul, and now we start over. And we live in an abundance era at that point because we have artificial intelligence, we'll have AI, everybody will have homes, everybody will have cars because we took all of the money and gave it back to distributed to the people. And that way they listen to us, that way they follow us, that way they listen to their AIs, that way they eat their foods that they're supposed to do, the credits and stuff like that. So everything will basically get to a point where it all makes perfect sense. It'll just take years to get to that utopia.
That's
But
big.
Putin's only doing what he was supposed to be doing for trying to take back his country. So in those situations, I'm biased to that extent because I do understand that it is people's lives. However, I go with the narrative to try to go to the original root of it and go, well, what are they fighting for? Because that was a piece of that country and it separated. So he wants the peace back. And it's not necessarily bad that he wants the peace back because the peace is being negotiated or being used like a relationship. Whereas like you was married, she left, you guys were working on stuff, and then America seen her and started talking to her. And then now they're in a little bit of a relationship, but you like, I want my girl back. And they're like, yeah, but we like her now. So it's kind of a, weird situation because our country is saying if you do something to their country, we're gonna have to do something to you because we're not allowing that. And the other country is saying, yo, but that's not even your property. That's my wife. Like, how are we having this argument? So I can understand the other country from their
Analogy.
perspective because that would be like, yeah, that would be like them coming to step on our toes for something we did on their shit. And I'm like, well, we're stepping on their toes, to be honest. It had nothing to do with us, but we're making it to have something to do with us. So that's where I'm at with the Putin situation in that regard. But it does lead into markets like the futures market. So when you said that, like right now, I'll go into it. So futures are basically the heartbeat of the global money movement. So before the stock market opens, futures already tell you the statement, the sentiment of what's going on. So we got ES, which is the S&P 500 futures. We got NQ, which is the NASDAQ futures. We got CL, which is oil. We got GC, which is gold. And we got BTC, which is futures. I want you to understand, BTC was never in the mix. That's a brand new category. So futures is now here to stay for Bitcoin. So these assets that the people say, well, it'll be here and then it'll go to zero, they're not going anywhere. There's a certain process you put them through to make sure that they don't go anywhere. So when you create an ETF, a spot ETF means you have to own the asset to allow it to be an ETF. That means it's not going anywhere because people own it in order for it to go have the value that it has. So institutions use futures for hedging positions. So futures move basically before the regular market. So it's like they might know the market's going to open bad tomorrow, and they might use futures to make a play on that because you're playing the future. Futures move one tick at a time. You get 50 ticks at a time, but each tick is worth $50 points. So you might get 50 ticks at a time on an average, but the market swings between 100 and 200 ticks, and then at any swing at any given time. So you can make quite a bit of money if your information is solid. The problem is people don't know how to play futures. This is where the game gets interesting. Most people learn how to get into stocks, crypto, bond market. Futures are a little harder, but everything hard is to keep you out because it'll actually have real value there. So if you learn futures, you don't need to learn any of the other markets because they won't pay you as much. However, is disingenuous to mastery level. So once you learn futures, you want to learn crypto, you want to learn stock, you want to learn equities, you want to learn bonds, you want to learn derivatives, you want leverage, you want everything you can get because then it puts you in a position to have 7 different streams of income because each one plays off the other one. If futures predate the stock market opening, that means you can make money in futures. Then you can make money when the stock market opens. Then you can make money off the crypto because of the stock market opening. Then you can make money off the stock that has dividends. Then you can make money off the crypto that you play futures to play leverage. Then you can also play margin. So there's so many ways and so many strategies that allow you to get to the bag. Once you figure that out, the game gets easy. So key line right now would say is like retail reacts to news and institutions position before the news. So you'll never hear me moving based off of, oh, I heard Nvidia is going to drop X, Y, Z. I would have positioned prior to Nvidia's earnings 3 months prior. So if I know Nvidia has earnings in March, in January, I'm buying the options for April. And I'm not thinking about it because I'm anticipating something that I know is going to happen based off of the compute. We need AI infrastructure. Everybody else that does what they do have to buy from NVIDIA. So unless those companies go bankrupt or belly up in the next 3 months, my thesis is solid. And you just play the thesis. So some people might wait till that day. And if you look at what happened, NVIDIA earnings, it dropped. So when NVIDIA earnings came out, the stock dropped about 3%. Now, the next day, it'll recover to 3%, or it'll go a little lower to dip. But if you went out to April, like I said, instead of the March, you don't worry about the volatility in that moment because when it figures all of what it's doing, it'll either have a forward outlook to keep moving forward or it'll turn around. And based off what we know the economy is doing, we know that it's going to go forward. So in April, all of a sudden, you up 300% on that contract. And that's how the game goes.
That's big. That's big. That's big. We got another question here. It says, what do you think about Liberty on North Korea?
I actually don't have a thought in that situation because I'm not as familiar with that setup or understanding of what's going on there to actually give an informed, informative basically answer to what you're asking. So for me, I don't put my foot in my mouth. If I know the answer, I got it for you. If I'm not sure, I'll direct you to someone that I knew can put you in the right direction. In this situation, I'd have to do a little bit more research to basically see what my thoughts are and to see why. So in those situations, I wouldn't just make an inference off of what the issue is. I guess to give to give a better example, and not victim shaming. If a woman tells me a man struck her, my question will be, well, what did you do? And I'm not justifying the man's behavior. But in order to understand something, I need to know both sides to grasp the concept of what it was. Not negating what he did to be wrong. His action can be completely wrong. That doesn't negate that you may have had an own wrong action on your side. So you'd be like, well, yeah, I spit at him or I did this. And I go, oh, well, what he did was wrong, but what you did was also wrong. So never comparing the two, separating the two so that way they have their own identity. Because that way it's not a tip for tap situation or trying to say, well, this is justifiable because that person did that. Because in every situation, we always have choice. That's the one thing God gave us for free will. So even if you say something to me aggressive, I have the ability to say, hey, that came off kind of aggressive. Or, hey, did you mean for that to come off as aggressive as you did to me? Or, hey, I'm triggered by what you just said and I feel away. Now, that requires a little bit of vulnerability, but you have to be that in order to understand. So if you now respond with, yeah, I said that to upset you, or it is what it is, I know how I should respond and I know how I can respond. I can walk away because I know the energy is negative. Or I can choose to meet you at that negative point, but it gives me choice and the ability to see clearly versus you knew what you were doing. You knew that you was coming off aggressive. I don't put that negative condensation on someone else, so or narrative on someone else. So I wouldn't be able to speak on the career situation until I do a little bit more research. I actually like the Rocket Man though, so that's why I said I still got to check because a lot of these leaders have they have history. History for me is his story. I don't know that man personally. I've never had a conversation with him. So it would be remiss for me to not take his word if I spoke to him versus the word of someone else around him because I don't know what their intention was. I don't know what they want the narrative to be. I don't know why they're trying to spin me to look at something a certain way. So it's harder for me to, like, if someone said, well, Toby's this way, and I'm like, well, I would ask you personally, are you feel like you're this way? And you might make a biased answer, but it would still give me the ability to have an inference off of what you said versus what someone else said about you.
That's big. That's big. That's big. That's big. If you want to provide more context, the Brody that wrote that question, if you want to provide more context about what you're specifically meaning when you say liberty and then North Korea, I know it's definitely a movement towards more independence in terms of away from the dollar. I know North Korea at least. Actually, correct me. Is North Korea in the BRICS agreement?
Yes. So to your point, I'm not against liberation for Korea. It's just the Korean people have to ask for it. So it's like we can't see something that we deem bad if the people there don't deem it bad. So America sometimes looks from the outside in and goes, that's not okay. But the people have to make a point to say something is not okay. That's what a revolution is. The revolution will be televised because you will lay down or you will stand up. So in each situation, we will always be able to see when people are done accepting something. So, and I don't think that the way they live in Korea is acceptable. However, this is the way they run their country. I also don't think the way we do certain things are acceptable, but it's the way we run our country. I don't like that in Africa we accept rice for 20 years. You give a man a fish, he never gonna learn to fish. He's just gonna eat what you gave him. You take the ability for him to create his own resource. So in America, we say things like, well, we're giving Africa rice and resources, but you're really not. You're stripping them of the ability to create their own resources.
Mm,
My opinion, obviously, my opinion. But that's what I mean when I say you give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. You give a
that's
man
a
the
fact.
idea and show him how to fish, he'll be to eat for a lifetime. Over here, we're in our Discord, what we're doing, IQ Heavy, is we're giving you the ability to fish for yourself. We're giving
Big
you a
facts.
process that you can run yourself. We want you to be able to go out there and identify a stock, identify a stock, crypto, identify a trend, understand what's going on economically, understand when institutionals are investing and when you should be investing. You don't want signal because if I go away, how are you going to trade?
Mm.
If I do 100% every day, you trading with me. What do you do today? I don't trade. You say I didn't take a trade today. Now you got to learn your own setup. So I teach the setup to teach people how to have a process. You got to have a process. I have a process every day. I run a process every single day. I don't take a trade unless it meets my criteria. Period. There is no emotional involved in it. A, B, C. That's it. If no trade, no trade. When it's a trade, it's a trade. I have a 30-minute tunnel if I need to. So if I'm anywhere in the world, I only need 30 minutes and I can find a trade. Or I can find that there is no trade in that 30-minute tunnel.
That's good. That's big. That's big. Cash is a position. Cash is a position. That's good, man. I know. What we gave was a lot of information. It's not your job to be able to understand, overstand everything that's provided all at once. It is your job to research, to look it up, and continually ask questions. You have heard of investing. You should have heard investing from somewhere before. So what we're seeking to do is put it all together, make it all make sense. We always speaking to the beginners. A lot of stuff is mindset. You got to have the right mindset, and make sure that you are being emotionally intelligent with your trading, and your investing more specifically. And so don't be afraid. I know there are a bunch of people who are afraid of taking those risks. They're afraid they might
Yeah,
lose
look,
money.
look, we got a 12-week course for y'all. So you could go from beginner to exactly where I'm at in that 12 weeks. Maybe not the experience side of it, but the execution side of it. Because once you will learn to execute the way I execute, you'll get to my level a lot faster. It took me 10 years plus to do what I do. It could take you a year to do the same thing at a mastery level because you're getting everything up front.
Big, that's big, that's big. So that's a 3 month period. And so to that person out there, we just want you to keep your head up, stay focused on the journey. You know what I mean? Make sure that you aren't afraid to lose. Because if you there is no there is no reward without taking risks, right? If you seek to have no risk, then you will also have no reward. So you got to be able to be willing to bear that risk, as well as be wise enough to know your risk tolerance, being able to properly size or leverage or not over leverage, and be wise enough to be able to trade again. And so definitely drop some gems on the people right there, man. I want to right now read the remaining of the report, and then we can close out with you kind of giving the people gems like you just did. All right,
Copy that. Copy that.
great job, bro, there, Brody. So again, Uber Technologies is exploring options for a full takeover of Delivery Hero Southeast,
Buy
according to
Uber.
people.
Buy
Yeah,
Uber.
yeah.
Let you know right now. Disclaimer: Buy Uber. Uber going full autonomy. They're gonna be bots on the road. They're gonna take over the ability for everybody to be using Uber. Uber is gonna take the market share from Lyft, and they're gonna take the market share from any other service apps.
Nice, nice. So I'm gonna read that again. Uber Technologies is exploring options for a full takeover of Delivery Hero Southeast, according to people familiar with the matter, to strengthen competition with DoorDash Incorporate outside the U.S. And so outlook for the next session, rate sensitivity remains high with the front end repricing of hawkish Federal Reserve messaging. Equity upside may depend on whether yields stabilize. Upside may depend on whether yields stabilize. Further upside in 2 year yields would likely pressure duration sensitive growth leadership again. Geopolitical headline risk, any confirmation of progress or setbacks around negotiations will likely transmit first through crude oil and inflation expectations, then into rates and equity multiples. Policy credibility watch. Markets will scrutinize early signals around Federal Reserve independence under Chair Kevin Warsh, particularly if inflation expects remain elevated. And so, real quick, that also means that your boy Jerome Powell is out. Dang, dang, see how quick. It was just last month. Yeah, it was just last month, huh? All right, that's how I go. Positioning into the next week after an extended week winning streak, the bar for incremental good news is higher. Breadth has improved, but follow through may require either clearer disinflation signals or sustained easing in geopolitical risks. So definitely right there, is a mouthful in terms of the news. Again, we want to make sure that you all are staying spiritual. Make sure that you're using these as a tool. It's not money itself, but the love of money that gets people in trouble. So make sure that you're keeping it spiritual, right? Because there's never enough. It's never going to be a lot. But what you can do is watch life. Make sure you're mindful of your lifestyle creep, right? Keep your expenses low, and so that you're able to be mindful of how much you truly need, and also be also willing to fast yourself, right? Because there may be some periods where you're willing to take a step back from the amount of from the high pressures that life provides, and you'll surprise yourself, right? Because it's always a gift to be able to not need as much as you thought you did, and be able to do more with less, because sometimes less is more. Most times, really, honestly, less is more. So, you
Right.
know, the more you want, the less you get. The less you get, the more you want. You know what I'm saying? So make sure that you are able to be keep your desires in check, because again, our desires are the root of all our suffering, right? And so make sure that you suffer less by making sure that you are in need of the right things and not just about those wants. You know what I'm talking about? So on that note, brother, man, anything you want to leave the people on?
Just making sure they understand the fear part versus the discipline and the risk to reward. At the end of the day, investing, the key thing to investing is survival. You just got to survive. So a lot of times it seems bad, it seems grim. You just got to hold out and everything will be better on the opposite side. So it's like life teaches you when you push and you push through to the other side, you make it to the other side. Everybody go through stuff, but who gets through the stuff? And you got to keep pushing forward. So all of the memes, all the analogies you see is always like goals right on the other side. Uh, Happiness and positivity is on the other side of fear. Everything is actually a true statement. You actually just have to keep pushing forth and staying consistent in the process. and you'll get exactly what you deserve, and you'll get exactly what you want.
Amen, amen, amen. You're exactly where you're meant to be. A great session, great segment today. Make sure that y'all replay this. Make sure that y'all check out that 12-week course. We put in it's an amazing opportunity. You know what I mean? 12 strong is what we like to say. 3-month period. So definitely, don't be afraid to take a challenge. Get started. We put the links right here in the chat, and so feel free to join that as well. If you have any other questions, feel free to hit us up on the IGs, on the Instagrams, on the Facebook, and we can take your learning to the next level. Stay focused. Make sure that you keep your IQ heavy. Make sure that you are staying focused on your lovepreneurship. Make sure that you're building with that family, right? We need more lovers and entrepreneurs coming together. Because ultimately, that is one of the two key areas. People are making money for their lovers, but they're not spending any time with their lovers while they're making money. And so that's a great way for us to be able to put those two key areas together,
Mhm.
because ultimately your child won't care what you may. They don't even understand money until a certain age. But what they do care for is that time that you spent with them. So they don't. It doesn't matter what you do. So even you teaching them how you made the money, they'll greatly appreciate it when the time comes around. So make sure that you're learning it with them. Make sure that you're teaching them. Make sure that you're providing a way, taking risks now, because any financially wealthy family has that leader who wasn't afraid to create that foundation for them. So make sure that you do that for your families out there. Bring that love together, entrepreneurship. And on that note, brother, you want to give them your IG so where they can find you?
Yeah, IQ heavy. You'll be able to keep me right on there. No extra with it, just IQ heavy. I also got
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think you might have clicked out on it. I think you might have clicked out on it. But yeah, you were doing great. You were doing great, man. We'll see. We'll give him a little second, see if he come back in. Give him a little second. We'll give him a little second. Give my bro a second. Give my bro a second. No rush, no pressure. If not, it'll be all good. So we'll end on that note. We'll end on that note. Y'all were excellent today. I appreciate you all
or you
tapping
start
in.
you looking to start a business or anything like that, that's the second level. So I got coaching for businesses, how to start a business, how to get funding and things like that, as well as credit and stuff like that. But those are all the other tangents, 'cause a lot of times it's a one-stop shop to some extent because I've been through it. I've had credit issues, so I had to figure out how to fix those. Had money issues, had to figure out how to generate more income revenue. Had issues with understanding how the business structures work, so I went through all of these things so that way you don't have to. So now coming over, it's like a one-stop shop. But jumping into the Discord, you'll be able to get the market intelligence. You got a daily briefing, daily report. I got the AI running. I got a few bots. We do this daily. This is an everyday thing where we're doing about 100 to 200% a day. Just tap in.
Amen, bro. Amen, bro. I don't know if you told him about your accreditation.
Oh yeah. Well, now I'm Series 65, so I have the ability to actually give you guys the investment advice that I've been giving you prior without, with my disclaimer saying, this is not financial advice. However, if anybody want a one-on-one coaching, we can contact me and I can give you financial advice now. So I can actually give you the meat and potatoes of what you need to do based off what I'm doing versus it being a suggestion for what I would do.
Amen, amen. Keep it going, keep it going. You know what I mean? So again, partnership with Finding Legal Group, IQ Heavy, we're taking it next level. Make sure that we're teaching the people the knowledge and in a way that they can understand in their language. And for our people, keeping our wealth in the community strong, next level. All right. So keep going. Make sure y'all replay this, send this out to somebody that you know that needs this knowledge. So knowledge is power. All right.
Appreciate y'all, man. IQ Heavy out.